25 Ways to Win with People, How to Make Others Feel Like $1,000,000 by John C. Maxwell and Les Parrott. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a dusty Little League baseball field on a bright, sunny afternoon. There's a 7-year-old boy named Eric, shuffling up to the plate for his very first at-bat. The helmet practically swallows his whole head. His uniform looks like it's wearing him instead of the other way around. And that bat? He's gripping it like it might fly away at any second. The kid is absolutely terrified. Standing on the pitcher's mound is Butch, who honestly looks like he could be driving a car. This kid throws fastballs that could break the sound barrier. First pitch, whoosh, strike one. Eric doesn't even flinch. Second pitch, whoosh, strike two, still frozen. Third pitch, whoosh, strike three. The umpire bellows, "You're out!" And little Eric actually looks relieved just to have survived. As he trudges back to the dugout, you can hear parents yelling and the coach barking criticism. The poor kid's heart is shattered. But someone's watching from the stands. His Uncle John spots the fear in his nephew's eyes and walks down to the fence. "Eric," he says with a gentle smile, "forget everything they just told you. Baseball's actually simple. You only need to do one thing. When Butch throws that ball, you swing the bat. That's it. Don't even worry about hitting it. Just swing." A tiny smile creeps across Eric's face. "That's all?" "That's all." Next time at bat, Eric swings at the first pitch and misses by about 3 feet. But his uncle leaps to his feet, clapping wildly. "Beautiful swing, Eric. That's exactly it." Another swing, another miss. Strike 3 again. But this time, his uncle shouts, "Eric, that's hands down the finest strikeout I've ever witnessed." Eric heads back to the dugout, but now there's a smile on his face. Third time up, something magical happens. Butch winds up, Eric swings, and there's contact. It's not a crack, more like a dull thunk. But the ball's in play! His uncle practically vaults over the bleachers, sprinting down the first baseline, yelling at the top of his lungs, "Keep running, Eric! Don't stop!" Uncle and nephew round all the bases together and slide into home plate in a cloud of dust. Safe! Years later, that terrified little boy, now a confident young man about to graduate high school, shared some incredible news with his uncle. He'd just been offered a full baseball scholarship to college. This story captures the beautiful essence of what we're diving into today, 25 Ways to Win with People, written by the dynamic team of John C. Maxwell and Les Parrott. This isn't some dry corporate manual filled with manipulation tactics. It's something far more meaningful, a guide to making the people around you feel genuinely seen, valued, and truly special. How to make them feel like $1,000,000. By the time we're done here, you'll understand the surprisingly simple mindset that allows certain people to walk into any room and instantly connect with everyone. These aren't magical powers you're born with. They're skills, and we're about to learn them together. So where does this adventure begin? With memorizing clever pickup lines or perfecting your handshake? Nope. The authors make something crystal clear right from the start. The most important journey begins by looking inward. The very first, absolutely critical way to win with people is to start with yourself. Think about it for a second. Your relationships can only be as healthy as you are on the inside. You simply can't give what you don't have. If you can't stand being alone with yourself, why would anyone else enjoy your company? If you don't believe you have value, how could you possibly add value to someone else's life? This is where most of us get it completely backward. We think, once I get rid of all my anxiety and stress, then I'll be happy. But here's the thing. Health isn't just the absence of disease. Real emotional health is about genuine wellness. It's about building something solid within yourself. Les Parrott shares this powerful story from his friend Gary Smalley. Picture this. You're in an auditorium with 10,000 people. Gary holds up a crisp $50 bill and asks, "Who wants this?" Hands shoot up everywhere, naturally. Then he says, "But hold on, let me do this first." He crumples the bill into a tight little ball. "Who still wants it?" Same hands stay up. "All right," he continues, "what if I do this? He drops it on the floor and grinds it into the carpet with his shoe, really working it in there. He picks up this dirty, wrinkled mess. Now who still wants it? Every single hand is still in the air. The lesson hits like a ton of bricks. No matter what I did to this money, Gary explains, you still want it because it didn't lose any value. It's still worth $50. Life does this to all of us, doesn't it? We get dropped, crumpled up, and ground into the dirt by our mistakes or by circumstances completely beyond our control. We start feeling worthless. But here's the truth bomb. No matter what's happened to you, you've never, ever lost your value. Winning with people starts the exact moment you recognize, accept, and truly believe in that inherent value inside you. It's not about your performance or what you've accomplished. It's about owning the truth that you're valuable exactly as you are. Once you have that security, you stop operating from a place of desperately needing something from people. You can finally start operating from a place of giving something to them. Which brings us to one of the most practical and game-changing ideas in this entire book, the 30-second rule. Here's how it works. Within the first 30 seconds of any conversation, say something encouraging to the person you're talking to. Sounds almost too simple, right? But think about what we usually do. When we meet someone, our first instinct is trying to make ourselves look good, sound smart, or come across as impressive. The 30-second rule completely flips that script. Instead of focusing on yourself, you actively search for a way to make them look good. John Maxwell learned this from his father, who was a college president. Walking across campus with his dad, John noticed he'd constantly stop to drop little encouraging bombs on students. Something simple like, "I heard you aced that exam," or "That question you asked in class yesterday was brilliant." John watched students' faces absolutely light up. His father was planting seeds of encouragement everywhere he went. This isn't about flattery or fake compliments, by the way. It's about genuine attention, real affirmation, and authentic appreciation. Get this. Researchers once found that when tired children received words of praise, instruments measuring their energy levels showed an immediate spike upward. But when they were criticized, their energy took a nosedive. Words carry actual power. They can inject energy into someone or drain it right out of them. When you practice the 30-second rule, you become what the authors call an energy carrier. You're that person who walks into a room and somehow makes everyone feel better just by showing up. The person who adds to others instead of subtracting from them. As you start genuinely focusing on others, something interesting happens. You naturally begin seeing them differently. You start noticing their potential, their strengths, their dreams. Which leads us to another profound way to win with people. Give others a reputation to uphold. The German writer Goethe once wrote something brilliant. Treat a man as he appears to be, and you make him worse. But treat a man as if he already were what he potentially could be, and you make him what he should be. This is one of the most powerful forms of belief you can offer someone. When you spot a spark of potential in them, a talent, a strength, a good quality, and you actually speak it out loud, you're giving them a vision of themselves they might never have been able to see on their own. There's this famous story about Harry Hopman, an Australian tennis coach known for this exact approach. He had one player who was noticeably slow, so what did he do? Nicknamed him Rocket. Another player wasn't particularly strong, so he called him Muscles. Want to know who those players became? Rocket Rodlaver and Ken Muscles Rosewall, two of the greatest tennis champions in history. The coach wasn't describing what they were in that moment. He was describing what they could become, and guess what? They rose to meet that reputation. John Maxwell does this same thing with his team. He calls his assistant Linda, the one who always represents me well. Another colleague gets called Mr. Relationship. He's not just complimenting them, he's establishing a standard of excellence for them to live up to. You can totally do this too. What's special, unique, or wonderful about the people in your life? Got a friend who's incredibly loyal? Tell them, "You're honestly the most loyal person I know." Have a classmate who thinks differently. Say, "You have this way of seeing things nobody else does." When you do this, you're not just creating a feel-good moment. You're planting a seed. You're telling them, "I see this in you," and it creates this internal drive in them to prove you right. Of course, to spot those strengths, you've got to be actively looking for them, and that requires a real shift in how you see people. Too many of us spend way too much time looking for weaknesses and flaws. It's far more impactful to point out people's strengths. The authors share some amazing research. Every single person can do at least one thing better than 10,000 other people. Let that sink in for a moment. You have a unique ability inside you, what they call a strength zone, that's legitimately world-class. And so does every single person you meet. The real tragedy? Most people never discover what theirs is. Imagine being the person who helps someone else find theirs. Here's a great line from the book. A successful person finds the right place for himself, but a successful leader and a true friend finds the right place for others. So how do you actually do this? First, you actively look for the best in people. Anyone can spot flaws. That takes zero skill. It takes someone special to see the gold. Second, you speak up about it. It's not enough to just think it silently. You have to actually say it. You fertilize that seed of success with encouragement and water it with opportunity. When you start operating this way, genuinely seeing the best in people, actively encouraging their potential, something incredible happens. They start trusting you. And when they trust you, they might just share with you the most fragile and precious thing they have, their dream. This is where you get the chance to practice one of the most sacred ways to win with people. Encourage the dreams of others. Dreams are fragile by nature. They can be crushed by a single cynical comment. Most people are actually terrified to even speak their dreams out loud because they've learned the world is absolutely packed with dream killers. People who, often because they've given up on their own dreams, can't stand watching someone else pursue theirs. Your job is to be the complete opposite. Be a dream releaser. Even if someone's dream sounds totally far-fetched, it's not your place to criticize it. When someone shares their dream with you, they're literally showing you the very center of their soul. It's a moment of incredible vulnerability and trust. How you respond carries enormous power. The wrong word can cause them to bury that dream forever. The right word can give them the courage to take that critical next step. So how do you encourage someone's dream? First, actually ask them to share it. Most people are never even asked. Second, affirm the person, not just the dream itself. Say something like, "That's a fantastic dream and I can totally see you achieving it because you're so determined," or creative or hardworking. Connect their dream to a specific strength you see in them. Third, ask about the challenges they're facing. This shows you're taking it seriously, not just being polite. Fourth, offer your assistance. Even something small, like "Let me know if I can ever help you brainstorm," can mean the world. Finally, revisit the dream with them later. Check in. Ask how it's going. This shows you didn't forget, that it wasn't just empty conversation. When you become a safe place for people's dreams, you become one of the most important people in their lives. Simple as that. This entire approach, seeing value, encouraging, pointing out strengths, believing in dreams, is rooted in a philosophy of generosity. And that generosity has to extend to your actual actions. One of the most tangible ways to win with people is to do for others what they can't do for themselves. We all have limits, right? We don't have all the knowledge, all the connections, or all the resources we need to get where we want to go. But what you lack, someone else might have in abundance. And what they lack, you might just have sitting right there. John Maxwell shares how early in his career, a well-known professor invited him to speak at conferences around the country. This put him on a national stage and gave him credibility he couldn't have possibly earned on his own at that point. Someone opened a door for him. Now he makes it his personal mission to do the same for others. You don't have to be rich or famous to do this, by the way. Think about 4 key areas where you can give someone a boost. First, introduce them to people they can't know on their own. Maybe you know a business owner, a teacher, or just a friend who could help someone. Be the bridge. Second, take them to places they can't go on their own. Maybe you have access to an event, a club, or even just a beautiful spot you know about. Share the experience. Third, offer them opportunities they can't reach on their own. Do you see a chance for someone to volunteer, lead a small project, or showcase their skills? Give them that chance. Fourth, share ideas they don't have on their own. Sometimes a single idea can literally change everything. If you have an idea that could help someone, don't hoard it like treasure. Give it away. This is all about having what's called an abundance mindset. People with a scarcity mindset see life as a single pie with limited slices. If they give a slice away, they have less. People with an abundance mindset believe that if the pie runs out, hey, we can always bake another one. They're not afraid to give because they believe there's always more where that came from. This attitude naturally flows into another powerful practice: be the first to help. Here's what often happens when someone's in need. People stand back. They're unsure, they're busy, or they just assume someone else will step in. The person who wins with people, they're the one who steps forward without hesitation. Les Parrott tells this great story about traveling with John and watching him help a stranger struggling to lift a suitcase into an overhead bin on an airplane. Most people just shuffled past, annoyed at the delay. John made a conscious choice to step in and help. It's a small thing, but it sends such a powerful message. I see you, and your need actually matters to me. Being the first to help is like leaving a calling card on someone's heart. They'll never forget it. And it doesn't have to be some grand gesture either. It can be as simple as holding a door, picking up something someone dropped, or offering a hand when you see someone struggling. It's about being aware of the needs around you and making it your priority to meet them. Of course, all this outward action, helping, giving, encouraging, only works if it's built on a foundation of genuine connection. And you absolutely cannot connect with people if you don't understand them. That's why one of the most crucial skills is to listen with your heart. Let's be honest, most of us don't really listen. We're waiting for our turn to talk. We listen to reply, not to understand. We're so focused on what clever thing we want to say next that we completely miss what's actually being said right in front of us. Listening with your heart means listening for the feeling behind the words. It's hearing what isn't being said out loud. John Maxwell admits he used to be absolutely terrible at this. He was Mr. Answer Man, always ready to solve the problem, but in the process, he'd completely run over his wife's feelings. He learned through painful failure that sometimes people don't want a solution. They just want to be heard. They want to be understood. To do this, you've got to fight all the distractions. Put your phone down. Turn away from the screen. Actually focus on the person. Unclog your ears of your own defensiveness, your own pride, your own assumptions. For a couple of years, whenever John was in a meeting, he'd write a giant L at the top of his notepad to remind himself to listen with a capital L. When you truly listen, not just to the words but to the emotions, the hopes, the fears underneath, you start discovering the keys to their hearts. Here's the thing. Everyone's motivated by something different. For one person, the key might be their family. For another, it's their passion for a cause. For someone else, it's their dream of building something new. If you try to connect with everyone using the exact same approach, you're going to fail with most of them. The legendary management expert Peter Drucker said leading people is like conducting an orchestra. You have to know each instrument and what it's capable of. To find the keys to someone's heart, you've got to genuinely get to know them. You have to ask real questions, and then, this is critical, truly listen to the answers. What do you dream about? This reveals their hopes. What makes you cry? This shows you their pain. What makes you sing? This tells you what brings them joy. When you know what truly matters to someone, you know how to connect with them on a level that goes way beyond small talk and weather conversations. You can talk about things that are genuinely important to them. And as you listen deeply, you'll begin to learn their story. And there's almost nothing more powerful than to remember a person's story. When you ask someone to tell you their story, you're essentially saying, "You matter. Your journey is important to me." But when you remember that story and bring it up later, "How's your mom doing since she moved?" Or, "Did you ever finish that project you were so excited about?" You're sending an even more powerful message. You're saying, "You're special to me. You have a permanent place in my mind and heart." In our crazy, fast-paced world, being truly remembered is a rare and beautiful gift. It makes people feel seen and valued in a way that almost nothing else can touch. Just as you listen to others' stories, you also need to learn to tell a good story yourself. Why? Because stories stick. Principles fade away. You can give someone a list of facts, and they'll forget them within an hour. But tell them a story, and they'll remember it for years, maybe forever. Stories are how we connect as human beings. They create emotional bonds. When you tell a personal story, you're not just conveying information, you're sharing a piece of yourself. You're being vulnerable and inviting the other person into your world. That's how real trust gets built. The best stories are always the ones you've actually lived, the ones you tell straight from the heart. This practice of sharing creates intimacy and trust, which brings us to another subtle but powerful way to connect. Share a secret with someone. This doesn't mean revealing your deepest, darkest secrets. It means letting someone in on something. It's the act of inclusion. When John Maxwell was planning to move his company from San Diego to Atlanta, he told a few key people months before the public announcement. One of them, his writer Charlie Wetzel, said that single moment completely changed his perspective. He said, "I had no idea he valued me as much as he did." Sharing information that isn't public knowledge makes a person feel special, trusted, and part of an inner circle. It could be a new idea you're working on, a plan for the future, or even just something you haven't told anyone else yet. By saying, "I want to share something with you," you're making a significant deposit of trust in that relationship. All these practices, listening deeply, remembering stories, sharing secrets, are about building deep, authentic bonds. But what about the simple, everyday interactions? The book reminds us not to forget the power of the basics, like learn your mailman's name. Dale Carnegie famously said that a person's name is, to that person, the sweetest and most important sound in any language. In a world where we're often reduced to a number, an account, or a username, hearing our own name is a small but powerful affirmation that we're a unique individual who matters. John Maxwell used to promise new visitors at his church that if they'd let him take their picture, he'd know their name by the very next Sunday. He ended up memorizing over 2,000 names. Why would someone go to that trouble? Because he understood that remembering a name was a simple way to communicate something profound. You're important enough to be remembered. And finally, we circle back to where we began, with the story of little Eric standing terrified at that baseball field. The ultimate way to win with people is to help people win. Life isn't a zero-sum game where for you to win, someone else has to lose. The greatest and most fulfilling successes in life come when you help lift others up alongside you. Basketball legend Bill Russell, who won more championships than any other player in history, said something beautiful. "The most important measure of how good a game I played was how much better I'd made my teammates play." Your job isn't just to succeed yourself. It's to create an atmosphere where others can succeed right alongside you. It's to believe in them so fiercely that they finally start believing in themselves. It's to give them hope when they feel hopeless. It's to focus on the process of their growth, not just the final outcome. When Lou Whitaker led the first American team to the summit of Mount Everest, they reached the final camp with only enough resources for a few people to make that last push to the top. As the leader, he could have easily chosen himself for the glory. Instead, he made a completely different choice. He sent the two strongest climbers back down to get more supplies, knowing full well they'd be too exhausted afterward to make the summit attempt themselves. The two weaker climbers would rest and get the glory of reaching the top. When someone asked him why, his answer was simple and profound. "My job was to put other people on top." When you help others win, you win too. You win their trust, their loyalty, and their genuine friendship. You build a team, a community, a family that's bound together by mutual success. And honestly, there's no greater victory than that. As we look back on these 25 ways, a single powerful idea emerges like a golden thread running through every story and piece of advice. True connection isn't about what you can get from people, it's about what you can give to them. It's a fundamental shift from "what's in it for me" to "how can I add real value to you?" In a world that often feels transactional and ridiculously fast-paced, where we scroll past faces without thinking and conversations get reduced to texts and emojis, these principles feel almost revolutionary in their beautiful simplicity. They call us back to a more human way of being. They remind us that at the end of the day, people don't remember exactly what you said or precisely what you did, as much as they remember how you made them feel. This book isn't teaching you to be nice, by the way. Niceness is passive, it just sits there. This is teaching you to be kind. Kindness is active. It requires real intention, awareness, and a genuine desire to see others flourish. It's consciously choosing to believe the best about people, to look for the gold of their good intentions, even when their actions fall short. It's remembering that everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle you know absolutely nothing about, and a single word of encouragement might just be the lifeline they desperately need to keep going. So how do you start putting this into practice right now, today? It can feel overwhelming to think about 25 different things. So let's not do that. Let's start with just 3 simple actions. First, I challenge you to practice the 30-second rule. For the rest of today, with every single person you talk to, your parents, your friends, the cashier at the grocery store, whoever, find one genuine, encouraging thing to say within the first 30 seconds. Just watch what happens. Watch their eyes light up. Watch their posture change. You have the power to be a carrier of positive energy. Actually use it. Second, learn someone's name. Pick one person you see regularly but don't know by name. The barista who makes your coffee, the security guard at your building, your mail carrier. Next time you see them, either look at their name tag or simply ask, "I see you all the time, and I'm embarrassed I've never asked. What's your name?" And then, this is important, the next time you see them, actually use it. That small act of recognition can completely transform the dynamic of your interaction. And third, write one note of encouragement. Think of someone in your life who could really use a lift right now. A friend who's struggling, a teacher who made a difference, a family member you appreciate but maybe haven't told lately. Take just 5 minutes, find a piece of paper or open a note on your phone, and write a few sentences straight from your heart. Tell them a strength you see in them. Thank them for something specific. Let them know you believe in them. That note might be something they keep for the rest of their life. I'm not kidding. These aren't just small acts. They're the building blocks of a life rich with connection, meaning, and real influence. They're the keys to not only winning with people, but genuinely winning at life. That was our deep dive into 25 Ways to Win with People by John C. Maxwell and Les Parrott. We've explored the core ideas today, but I've got to be honest with you. Listening to a summary is like looking at a picture of a wonderful meal. The real nourishment comes when you actually sit down and experience it for yourself. The book is packed with stories and moments of insight that we just couldn't cover in one sitting. Think of this summary as your starting point, a way to see if this book's wisdom is what you need right now. If anything we talked about today has sparked something in you, and I really hope it has, I truly encourage you to pick up a copy and read it yourself. Reading it isn't just about learning more. It's an experience that can fundamentally change how you interact with every single person in your life. You'll find a link to the book in the description below. Also, if you found this summary helpful and want to keep exploring ideas from the world's most influential books, please take a second to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next journey into another life-changing book. Let's keep learning and growing together.